Danny Martinez was having a normal day at the mining colony. He stood in the engineering bay, checking the oxygen machines that kept everyone alive on this distant planet. Theta 7 was not a friendly world. The air was too thin to breathe, and the cold could kill a person in minutes. But the colony had been his home for 3 years now, and Danny knew every pipe and wire in the place. He twisted a valve and watched the pressure gauge climb to the right level. Everything looked good. Danny was about to mark the task complete on his datapad when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across every wall. The sound was so loud that Danny had to cover his ears. His radio crackled to life, and he heard Lisa Grant's voice from the control center. "Danny, we have a problem. Something big just came through the atmospheric shield. It's heading right toward you. Get to the shelter now." Danny's heart started beating faster. Nothing was supposed to get through their shields. They were designed to stop meteors and space debris. Whatever was coming must be huge. "What is it?" Danny asked, moving toward the window. "We don't know. It's alive." "Danny, please, just get to safety." But Danny did not run. He had always been the kind of person who needed to see things for himself. He pressed his face against the reinforced glass and looked out at the gray sky of Theta 7. What he saw made him forget how to breathe. A creature flew through the air, its massive wings beating against the thin atmosphere. It had scales that shimmered blue and green, catching the light from the distant sun. Its body was long and powerful, with 4 legs that ended in sharp claws, a tail whipped behind it like a metal cable. The neck was long and graceful, leading to a head that had 2 curved horns. It looked exactly like the dragons from old Earth stories. Danny had read about dragons as a child, seen them in movies and games. But those were make-believe. This was real. The creature was injured. Danny could see a deep cut along its side, leaking a fluid that glowed blue in the dim light. But that was not what made his breath catch in his throat. In the dragon's front claws, held as gently as a mother holds a baby, was a smaller dragon. The little one was no bigger than a human child. Its scales were dull, and it was not moving much. Danny could see burn marks across its small body, the kind that came from energy weapons. The big dragon landed hard just outside the engineering bay. Her claws dug deep trenches in the concrete ground. Dust flew up around her massive body. She folded her wings carefully, protecting the small one in her arms. Then she looked directly at Danny through the window. Her eyes were large and intelligent. They glowed with an inner light that was almost golden. Danny had worked with many alien species in his years as an engineer. He knew the difference between an animal and a thinking being. This was no animal. The dragon made a sound that went straight through the glass, through the walls, through everything. It was a cry that needed no translation. It was the sound of a mother begging someone, anyone, to help her dying child. Danny felt something break open in his chest. He had heard that kind of desperation before. His own sister had made a sound like that when her son had been sick with fever. That was years ago, back on Earth. But Danny remembered. He remembered the fear, the helplessness, the need to do something, anything. "Command. Turn off the defensive systems," Danny said into his radio. His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. "This creature is not here to attack us. She needs help. Have you lost your mind?" Lisa's voice was sharp with fear. "That thing could tear through our walls like paper. It could kill everyone here." Quote, "Then I better help her before she gets desperate enough to try," Danny said. He was already walking toward the airlock. His fingers moved over the controls, starting the sequence to open the outer door. "Danny, don't do this, please. Wait for the commander." "Her kid doesn't have time to wait," Danny said. The airlock door hissed open. The thin, cold air of Theta 7 rushed in, making Danny's skin prickle even through his suit. He took a deep breath from his oxygen mask and stepped outside. The dragon's huge head turned toward him. Her nostrils flared as she smelled him. This close, she was even more impressive. Each tooth in her mouth was as long as Danny's arm. Her claws could easily cut through metal. One strike from her tail could break him in half. But Danny did not see a monster. He saw a scared mother. He raised his hands slowly, showing that he held no weapons. "I understand," he said quietly, even though he knew she probably could not understand his words. "Let me see your child." The dragon stared at him for a long moment. Danny felt like she was looking into his soul, measuring everything he was. Then, slowly, she lowered her head. She brought the small dragon closer to Danny, close enough that he could see the shallow breathing, the terrible burns, the broken wing. The mother dragon made that sound again. Softer this time, but just as desperate. "Please," it seemed to say. "Please help." Danny nodded. "Okay, I'll do everything I can, but you need to trust me." He did not know if she understood his words, but she seemed to understand his meaning. She gave a small nod of her own massive head. Danny activated his radio again. "Lisa, I need you to clear out the maintenance hangar. Get me every medical scanner we have. Wake up, Dr. Karen Phillips. I don't care what time it is. Danny, the colony rules say we can't bring unknown creatures into our living areas without going through quarantine procedures. I have to report this to Commander Blake. Then report it. But while you're doing that, get me those scanners. This little one is dying, and I won't let that happen because of paperwork." There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Lisa sighed. "The hangar will be ready in 5 minutes. Karen is on her way. You better know what you're doing." Quote, "What? That makes one of us," Danny muttered. He turned back to the dragon. "Can you follow me? I have a place where I can help your child. But you need to walk with me." The dragon looked at him with those glowing eyes. Then, deliberately, she nodded again. "Good. Try not to break anything important. We humans are pretty fragile." Danny started walking toward the maintenance hangar. He kept his pace slow and steady. His back was to a creature that could end his life in a second. Every part of his brain screamed at him that this was crazy, but he kept walking. Behind him, he heard the scrape of claws on concrete. The ground shook slightly with each step the dragon took. She was following him. People watched from windows as they passed. Danny could see their shocked faces, their wide eyes. Some looked terrified. Others looked amazed. Danny ignored them all. He focused on putting one foot in front of the other. The walk to the hangar felt like it took hours, even though it was less than 5 minutes. When they finally reached the large building, Karen was waiting inside. She had spread her medical equipment across a workbench. Her eyes went huge when she saw the dragon, but she stood her ground. "You brought me a dragon," Karen said. Her voice was flat with shock. "Her kid is hurt." Danny replied simply. "Burns. Broken bones. Maybe worse. I need to know what we're dealing with." Karen stared at him. "Danny, I'm a doctor for humans. I studied some alien biology, but nothing prepared me for this. Then we'll figure it out as we go. Because if we don't try, that child dies. And I don't think this mother will take that well." The dragon gently laid her injured baby on the hangar floor. The small one barely moved. Blue blood pooled beneath its body, glowing in the harsh lights of the hangar. Karen's training took over. She grabbed her medical scanner and approached carefully. The mother dragon watched every move, but did not interfere. "Broken wing bone, severe burns, possible internal damage," Karen said, reading her scanner. "Body temperature is dropping fast. This child is in very bad shape, Danny. Can we save it?" Karen looked at him, then at the mother dragon's desperate eyes. "I don't know. But we're going to try." Danny nodded. He looked at the dragon mother, at her injured child, at Karen preparing her equipment. He thought about all the regulations they were breaking, all the rules they were ignoring, and he knew he would do it all again in a heartbeat, because some things were more important than rules. Commander Blake arrived at the maintenance hangar 30 minutes later. He had 2 security officers with him. Blake was a tall man, with gray hair, and a face that looked like it had seen too many problems. He did not look happy. "Martinez, what do you think you're doing?" His voice echoed through the hangar. Danny did not look up from where he was helping Karen work on the small dragon. "My job, sir. Solving problems." "This isn't a problem. This is a first contact situation with an unknown alien species that could be dangerous." "She's not dangerous," Danny said, finally meeting Blake's eyes. "She's a mother trying to save her child. Look at her, Commander. Really look." Blake looked at the mother dragon. She sat beside her injured child, her massive body curved protectively around the medical area. Her eyes followed every movement that Karen and Danny made. There was no anger there, only desperate hope. "We have rules for situations like this," Blake said, but his voice was less harsh now. "Rules that would take 6 hours to follow," Danny replied. "This child doesn't have 6 hours. It probably doesn't have 1 hour without help." Karen spoke without looking up from her work. "He's right, Commander. I've stopped the worst bleeding, but there's internal damage. I've never worked on this species before, but some things are the same across all living creatures. This young one is dying. If we try to move it now, we'll kill it for sure." Blake was quiet for a long moment. His jaw muscles worked as he thought. Finally, he let out a long breath. "Fine. But this stays in this hangar only. I want security outside. If that creature shows any sign of attack, we evacuate immediately." "Yes, sir," Danny said, already turning back to his work. The next few hours were the hardest of Danny's life. Karen told him what she needed, and he figured out how to make it work. They needed to keep the young dragon warm, so Danny rigged up heating units that were normally used for equipment maintenance. He positioned them carefully around the small dragon's body. The burns were bad. Karen used medical foam to seal them. She hoped the foam would work on dragon skin the same way it worked on humans. There was no way to know for sure, except to try. The broken wing was complicated. Karen had never set bones for a creature with wings before. Danny helped her align the bones, while Karen wrapped them carefully. The young dragon whimpered during this part, and the mother dragon made a low growling sound. But she did not interfere. She seemed to understand. They were trying to help. The mother dragon never left her spot beside her child. She watched everything with those bright, intelligent eyes. Sometimes, she made soft, chirping sounds, like she was asking questions. Danny found himself talking to her as he worked, even though he knew she could not understand. "Okay. So we've got the wing bones lined up. The burns are sealed with medical foam. Your kid's temperature is coming back up, which is good." Danny adjusted one of the heating units. "I have to be honest with you. We're making this up as we go. I've never done anything like this before." 4. The dragon made a low rumbling sound in her throat. Danny chose to think it was an encouraging sound. "You know, where I come from on Earth, dragons are just stories. We tell children about them. Brave knights fighting dragons, or sometimes befriending them. I never thought I'd meet a real one. Definitely never thought I'd be trying to save one's life." Karen glanced at him with a tired smile. "Are you talking to the dragon, Danny? She listens better than most people." Can't argue with that. As the hours passed, the young dragon began to improve. Its breathing became more regular. The blue blood stopped leaking from its wounds. Some color returned to its dull scales. Danny watched the readings on Karen's monitors, afraid to hope too much. "I think it's working," Karen whispered. "I think we're actually saving this child." As if the young dragon heard her words, its eyes slowly opened. They were the same golden color as its mother's, but clouded with pain and confusion. Still, they were open. The child was conscious. The mother dragon made a sound unlike anything Danny had heard before. It was a series of chirps and trills and low rumbles all mixed together. If a dragon could cry with happiness, this was what it sounded like. She carefully reached out her long neck and touched her nose to her baby's nose. The gesture was so tender, so gentle, that Danny felt his throat get tight. This was a person, not an animal, not a monster from old stories. A real person with feelings and love for her child. A mother who had traveled who knows how far, desperate and afraid, to find someone who would help. "Your kid is going to be okay," Danny said softly to the mother dragon. "It will take time to heal completely. But the worst is over." The dragon's huge head turned toward him. For a moment, her golden eyes locked with his. Danny saw something in those eyes that needed no translation. It was gratitude, deep and pure. Then, slowly and carefully, the dragon lowered her head in a bow. Danny felt tears prick at his eyes. He reached out and gently touched the dragon's snout. Her scales were smooth and warm beneath his hand. "You're welcome," he said. Over the next 3 days, the maintenance hangar became the most talked-about place in the colony. Commander Blake had ordered everyone to keep quiet about it, but in a settlement of only 300 people, secrets did not last long. By the second day, there was a constant stream of colonists walking past the hangar, trying to catch a glimpse of the dragons. The young dragon healed faster than anyone expected. Karen thought the species might have special healing abilities. Or maybe they had just been lucky with their treatment. Either way, the small dragon was soon able to stand up and walk around a bit. The mother dragon refused to leave. Danny tried to explain that she could come and go if she wanted, but she would not abandon her child. She seemed to understand that her presence was causing some disruption to the colony, but nothing would make her leave. Danny started spending most of his free time in the hangar. He told himself it was to check on the equipment, but the truth was simpler. He was fascinated by these creatures. The mother dragon had learned to communicate in simple ways. She could nod yes or shake her head no. She used her tail to point at things she wanted Danny to look at. It was on the third day that Danny discovered something amazing. He had been explaining to the dragon how the heating system worked. He was not sure why he bothered explaining, since she could not understand his words, but it felt right to talk to her. Suddenly, the dragon stood up. She moved to a clear area of the floor. Then, with surprising care, she extended one claw and began scratching marks into the concrete. Danny watched, his mouth falling open. The marks were not random. They were deliberate symbols. The dragon was writing. "Karen," Danny called out. "Karen, come see this." The doctor hurried over and stopped short. "Is that a written language?" "I think so," Danny breathed. The dragon finished and stepped back. She looked at them, clearly waiting for them to understand. The symbols were complex, with curved lines crossing straight ones in patterns that repeated. It looked like real writing, like grammar and structure. Danny pulled out his datapad and took pictures of the symbols. "This is incredible. But we don't know what it says." The dragon made a frustrated huffing sound. She pointed with her tail at the young dragon, then at herself, then at the sky beyond the hangar doors. "Home?" Danny guessed. "You're trying to tell us where you're from?" The dragon nodded enthusiastically. She scratched more symbols, then began to act something out. She reared up on her back legs, spreading her wings wide. She made aggressive gestures at an invisible enemy. Then she turned back to her child, miming protection and escape. Finally, she acted out desperate flight through space. "Someone attacked you," Karen said quietly. "You were attacked, and you ran here to escape." The dragon nodded. But this time, her eyes held something dark. Something that might have been fear, or anger, or both. Danny felt a cold knot form in his stomach. What kind of weapons did they use? The dragon thought for a moment. Then she walked to Danny's workbench. Very carefully, she picked up a plasma cutter tool with her mouth and held it up. "Energy weapons," Danny said. "Someone with advanced technology attacked you and your child." The dragon put down the tool and nodded. "The question is," Karen said slowly, "are they still looking for you?" Before anyone could answer, the colony's warning sirens began to wail. Lisa Grant's voice came over the speakers, tight with worry. All personnel, this is not a drill. We have unknown ships entering our star system. Commander Blake is ordering everyone to defensive positions. This is not a drill. Danny and Karen looked at each other. Then they looked at the mother dragon. Her expression, if such a word could be used for her alien face, showed terrible understanding. They had found her. The hunters had come. The hangar erupted into chaos as alarms blared throughout the colony. Red lights flashed on every wall. Commander Blake's voice cut through the noise, calm but firm. All military personnel to defensive positions. All civilians to the shelters. Martinez, evacuate that hangar immediately. Danny looked at the mother dragon. He looked at the young dragon, still too weak to fly. He made a decision that could get him fired, or worse. No, Commander. I'm staying here with our guests. There was a pause on the radio. That wasn't a request, Engineer Martinez. I know, sir. But these creatures came to us for help. I won't abandon them now. If those ships up there are hunting these dragons, then the colony might be safer if I can talk to them. Maybe we can avoid a fight. You're relieved of duty, Martinez. Security will bring you to the shelter. Then you'll need to send a lot of security, sir. I'm not leaving. Before Commander Blake could respond, the mother dragon moved. She positioned her massive body between Danny and the hangar door. Her meaning was clear. Anyone who wanted to take Danny away would have to go through her first. A new voice came over the radio. Commander, this is Dr. Helen Carter. Let Martinez try. If those ships are hunting these creatures, our best chance to avoid conflict is communication. The dragon trusts him. We should use that. Danny knew Helen Carter. She was the colony's alien life expert, newly arrived on the last supply ship. He was grateful for her support. There was another long pause. Fine. Carter. Grant. Get to that hangar and help Martinez. But if this goes wrong, it's on your head. Engineer. Understood, sir. Within minutes, Helen and Lisa arrived at the hangar. Helen immediately went to the symbols the dragon had scratched on the floor. Her eyes went wide with excitement. This is remarkable, Helen said, pulling out her scanning equipment. These patterns show a writing system that's very old and very sophisticated. This species has had civilization for thousands of years. The dragon watched Helen work, then scratched more symbols quickly. Helen photographed them and ran them through her computer analysis. She's saying something about hunters. No, wait. Helen looked up at the dragon with horror growing on her face. The hunters are called the Valkorian. They've been hunting her people for 3 generations. Her entire species is being wiped out. Danny felt anger surge through him. He looked at the dragon. This mother who had been so desperate that she fled to a colony of aliens she had never met and put her faith in strangers. Not here, Danny said quietly. Not while we can stop it. The radio crackled. The unknown ships are sending us a message, Commander Blake said. They're demanding we hand over what they call escaped specimens. They're offering to pay us if we cooperate. Specimens, Karen said with disgust. They're hunting thinking beings like animals. Danny grabbed his radio. Commander, let me talk to them. Martinez, I don't think that's wise. Sir, we don't have time to debate. Let me talk to them. A moment later, Danny heard the click of an open channel. He took a breath and spoke clearly. This is Engineer Danny Martinez of the Theta 7 mining colony. I'm speaking for the creatures you're hunting. They're under our protection now. The voice that answered was cold and flat, run through a translation computer. You have no authority in this matter, human. The specimens are property of the Valkorian Genetic Conservation Program. Return them, and you will be paid. Refuse, and you will be breaking interstellar trade law. Genetic conservation, Danny said. Is that what you call hunting mothers and children? Because from where I stand, it looks like murder. Your opinion does not matter. The specimens must be returned. Danny looked at the mother dragon. He looked at the young dragon. He thought about his own sister, about her son, about family, and the lengths people go to protect those they love. He thought about Earth's history, about all the times humans had been cruel, and all the times they had chosen to be better. "Here's something about humans," Danny said. His voice was steady. "We have this saying, 'Not on our watch.' It means, when we see something wrong happening right in front of us, we don't just stand by. We act. So here's my answer. You turn your ships around and leave this system. And we don't tell every human colony and fleet between here and Earth that you're running an extermination program against intelligent beings." Silence stretched for several seconds. "You would risk war over specimens? They're not specimens. They're people. And yes, we'd risk it, because that's who we are." Another pause. The voice returned, but with a different tone now. "Uncertainty. This is not finished, human. Maybe not, but it's finished for today. Now leave our system." The channel went dead. Helen pulled up a tactical display on her datapad. They all watched as the Valkorian ships held their position. Seconds turned into minutes. The tension in the hangar was thick enough to cut. Then, slowly, the ships began to turn away. Commander Blake's voice came over the radio. Danny could hear relief mixed with concern. "They're leaving. Martinez, you just committed this colony to harboring refugees in an interstellar incident. I hope you understand what that means." "Yes, sir. It means we did the right thing." Danny turned to the mother dragon. She was watching him with those glowing golden eyes. Slowly, she lowered her massive head until it was level with his, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her breath. Then she spoke. The words were difficult for her. Her throat was not made for human language. But the words were clear enough to understand. "Thank you." Danny felt tears in his eyes. He reached out and placed his hand on her snout, feeling the warm scales beneath his palm. "You're welcome. You're both safe now. I promise." The mother dragon made that complex sound again. The one that was like singing and crying at the same time. But this time, Danny understood. It was not sorrow. It was joy. Over the following days, the Theta 7 colony changed in ways no one had expected. Word of what happened spread through human space at incredible speed. The response was overwhelming. Scientists, doctors, language experts, and human rights workers all wanted to come to the small mining colony. Helen worked closely with the mother dragon, whose name sounded something like Sky of Dawn when she said it herself. Together, they built a translation system that actually worked. Through Sky of Dawn, they learned about her species, called the Thorali. They learned about the Valkorian hunting programs and the desperate struggle for survival. The young dragon, which everyone started calling Little Blue, made a complete recovery. His wing healed straight and strong thanks to Karen's care. The young dragon turned out to be curious and playful. He often got into harmless trouble around the colony, much to the delight of the children who lived there. Danny found himself at the center of something much bigger than he had imagined. The human government formally declared the Thorali a protected species. They began working with other civilizations to pressure the Valkorian to stop their hunting. But Danny's favorite times were still the quiet moments. He would sit in what was now called the Thorali Embassy, though it was still really just the old maintenance hangar. Sky of Dawn would tell him stories about her people. She spoke of cities carved into mountains and songs sung while flying on warm air currents. She told him about her hope that more Thorali might find safety, knowing that somewhere in the galaxy, humans would help them. "Your people surprised me," Sky of Dawn said one evening. Her English had improved greatly with practice. "When I came here in desperation, I did not know if you would help or harm us. I only knew I had nowhere else to go." "Why did you choose us?" Danny asked. "I watched your colony for 3 days before I came down. I watched how you worked together, how you helped each other. I saw small kindnesses. A person sharing food, someone helping fix broken equipment, laughter. I saw laughter. She made that trilling sound that meant she was happy. I thought, maybe these are people who understand that life is precious. That family matters. I decided to trust you. You proved me right. Danny looked out at the stars through the hangar door. He thought about all the species out there in the galaxy, all the chances for conflict and misunderstanding, but also all the chances for friendship. We have a saying, he told Sky of Dawn. It takes a village to raise a child. I guess sometimes that village includes humans, dragons, and anyone else willing to help. Little Blue, who had been sleeping in the corner, woke up and walked over to them. The young dragon had become very attached to Danny. He often followed the engineer around the colony during work. Now he curled up next to Danny's feet, his body warm and comfortable. Sky of Dawn watched her child with clear contentment. In the old stories of my people, there is a prophecy. It says the Thorali would one day be saved by travelers from distant stars, beings who valued courage and compassion above all else. I never believed it was real, until now. We're just people trying to do what's right, Danny said. Yes, Sky of Dawn agreed. That is exactly what the prophecy said. As the night cycle deepened on Theta 7, Danny sat with his friends, both human and Thorali. He felt something he had not experienced in his 15 years as a colonial engineer. He felt like he was part of something that truly mattered. The story of the crying mother dragon who brought her injured child to a human colony would be told across the galaxy in the years to come. It would become a symbol of cooperation between species, of choosing compassion over convenience, of standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. But for Danny Martinez, it would always be simpler than that. It would be the night he met someone who needed help, and he decided to give it. Nothing more complicated than that. Nothing more important than that. Just humanity doing what humanity does best. Caring. 3 weeks had passed since the Valkorian ships left the system. The maintenance hangar had transformed from a place of emergency medicine into something more permanent. Danny had helped install better heating systems, comfortable resting areas, and even a small pool of water after Sky of Dawn indicated she needed it for drinking. The colony had settled into a new normal. People no longer gasped when they saw the dragons. Children waved at Little Blue when he flew short distances around the colony grounds. Parents brought their kids to the hangar on weekends to listen to Sky of Dawn's stories, translated through Helen's computer system. But Danny knew this peace was temporary. The Valkorian had left, but they had not given up. Reports from other human colonies suggested the hunters were regrouping, possibly planning a larger operation. The Thorali were too valuable to them, though Danny still did not fully understand why. He was working on upgrading the hangar's power systems when Sky of Dawn approached him. She moved with more confidence now, comfortable in the space she shared with the humans. Danny, I must tell you something important, she said. Her accent was thick, but her words were clear. Danny set down his tools. What is it? What? You have seen what the Valkorian did to my child. You know they hunt us, but you do not know why. She settled onto the floor, her long body coiling comfortably. I think it is time you understood. Helen and Karen, who had been nearby, moved closer to listen. Other colonists began to gather as well, sensing this was important. My people, the Thorali, are old, Sky of Dawn began. We have lived among the stars for 10,000 of your years. We do not build ships like you do. We fly between worlds using our own bodies. Little Blue chirped from where he was practicing his flying. Sky of Dawn made a gentle sound back at him before continuing. The Valkorian discovered us 3 generations ago. At first, they seemed friendly. They wanted to study us, to learn from us. We allowed this. We thought they were good people. Her voice grew harder. What happened? Helen asked softly. They discovered that our bodies produce something they wanted. In our blood, there is a substance. The Valkorian learned they could use it to extend their own lives. Not forever, but much longer than natural. One Thorali's blood could give a Valkorian 50 more years of life. Danny felt sick. So they started hunting you? Yes. At first, they tried to buy our blood. Offered us technology, wealth, territory. But taking blood from a living Theralee is very painful and dangerous. Many died from the process. We refused to continue. That is when the hunting began. How many of your people are left? Karen asked. When the Valkorian came, we numbered in the millions across 12 worlds. Now? Sky of Dawn's voice broke slightly. Perhaps 20,000. Maybe less. We hide in the dark spaces between stars. We flee from system to system, and still they hunt us. The hangar was completely silent. Even the normal sounds of the colony seemed to fade away. My mate was killed 6 months ago, Sky of Dawn continued. He fought to give me time to escape with our egg. Little Blue hatched 3 months later. I thought we had found a safe place in an asteroid field. But the Valkorian found us again. They attacked. I grabbed my child and flew. I did not know where to go. Then, I saw your lights. Your colony. I watched you for days, trying to decide if you would kill us or help us. And you chose to trust us, Danny said. I had no other choice. But yes, I chose to trust. And you proved that trust was wise. She looked around at all the humans gathered in the hangar. You did not see specimens or resources. You saw a mother and child who needed help. That is why I believe humans might be the ones to help us survive. An older colonist named Peter spoke up. What can we do? We're just a mining colony. We don't have an army. You have something more powerful, Sky of Dawn said. You have the ability to tell others what is happening. The Valkorian operate in secret. They claim they are preserving our species, taking only volunteers. But this is a lie. If the galaxy knew the truth, they would face consequences. Helen was already typing on her datapad. We can document everything. Get your testimony on record. Send it to every major civilization. The Valkorian won't be able to hide this. They will try to stop you, Sky of Dawn warned. They have money, power, influence. Let them try, Danny said. He looked around at his fellow colonists. We're not going to stay quiet about this. Right? There was a chorus of agreement. Even Commander Blake, who had been standing at the back of the crowd, nodded. The mining company won't like it, Blake said. And Earth's government will probably want us to stay neutral. But I'm with Martinez on this one. Some things are more important than politics. Over the next few days, the colony became a hub of activity. Helen recorded hours of interviews with Sky of Dawn. They documented the scars on Little Blue's body. They gathered evidence of the Valkorian hunting ships, their weapons, their methods. Danny helped set up secure communication channels to send the information to human space. Other species governments received copies too. The truth about the Valkorian was spreading like fire through dry grass. But Danny worried. He knew the Valkorian would not take this quietly. They had too much to lose. His worries proved correct on the 8th day, after they began releasing the information. Lisa's voice came over the speakers, tense and worried. We have ships approaching the system, multiple vessels. They're not broadcasting standard identification codes. Danny was in the hangar with Sky of Dawn when the alert came. He saw the dragon stiffen, her eyes going wide. How many ships? Danny asked into his radio. 7, no, 8. They're still coming through the jump point. Are they Valkorian? Unknown. But Danny, these aren't small hunting ships. These are big, military grade. Sky of Dawn made a low, distressed sound. They are coming for me. For us. They will destroy this colony if they must. They'll have to get through us first, Danny said. He activated his radio. Commander, we need to prepare defenses. Already on it, Blake replied. But Martinez, we're a mining colony. We have basic defensive weapons, nothing that can stop a military fleet. If they decide to attack, we can't win. Danny looked at Sky of Dawn, at Little Blue who had moved close to his mother. He thought about everything they had learned, about the thousands of Thorali hiding in the darkness of space, afraid and hunted. Maybe we can't win a fight, Danny said. But maybe we don't have to. These hunters operate in secret. We've been broadcasting everything that's happening here. If they attack a human colony in full view of the galaxy, they lose everything. Helen caught on immediately. We're not just a target. We're witnesses. If they harm us, it proves everything we've been saying about them. Exactly, Danny said. We need to make sure everyone is watching. Karen pulled out her communication equipment. I can boost our broadcast signal. Make sure every ship in range can see and hear what happens here. Do it, Commander Blake said over the radio. And everyone stay calm. We're about to find out if Martinez's gamble pays off. The colony waited as the Valkorian fleet approached. 8 massive ships, each one capable of devastating the small mining outpost. They stopped just outside weapons range and sent a message. Human colony of Theta 7. You are harboring stolen property of the Valkorian Genetic Conservation Program. You have also been spreading false information about our operations. Return the Thorali specimens and cease your broadcasts, or face the consequences. Danny took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would determine everything. He opened a channel, making sure it was broadcasting on every frequency. This is Engineer Danny Martinez. I'm speaking not just to you, but to everyone listening across this sector. The creatures you call specimens are people. Thinking, feeling, intelligent beings. What you call conservation is genocide. We have proof. We have testimony. And we will not be silent. You cannot stop us, human. Maybe not. But I don't need to stop you. I just need to make sure everyone sees what you really are. So go ahead. Attack a peaceful colony. Prove to the galaxy that everything we've said about you is true. Or leave, and face justice the proper way. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Danny could hear his own heartbeat, could feel the tension radiating from Sky of Dawn beside him. Finally, the Valkorian responded, This is not over. No, Danny agreed. It's not, but it's the beginning of the end for your hunting. The galaxy is watching now. You can't hide anymore. The fleet held position for another hour. Then, slowly, they began to withdraw. Danny let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. Around him, the colony erupted in cheers, but he knew this was just one battle. The war to save the Thorali was far from over. Still, it was a start. And sometimes, a start was all you needed. 6 months had passed since the Valkorian fleet withdrew from Theta 7. The small mining colony had become one of the most famous places in human space. Ships arrived weekly, bringing supplies, scientists, and support. The colony had tripled in size, with new buildings spreading across the gray landscape of the planet. But the biggest change was the new arrivals who came not by ship, but by wing. Danny stood outside the expanded hangar, watching as 3 more Thorali descended from the sky. They had heard about the safe haven at Theta 7 and made the dangerous journey through space to reach it. Sky of Dawn flew up to meet them, calling out greetings in her own language. The sound of dragon song echoed across the colony. That makes 15 now, Helen said, standing beside Danny with her ever-present datapad. 15 Thorali who've found their way here. And we're getting reports of more heading this direction. Is the colony ready for that many? Danny asked. We're building as fast as we can. The mining company has actually been supportive. Apparently, having dragons on your colony is good for public relations. Who knew? Bottom, Helen smiled. Plus, the Earth government is sending funding. They want to make this an official refugee center. Danny watched as Sky of Dawn led the new arrivals down to the landing area. The 3 dragons looked thin and scared. One had visible scars from weapons fire, but their eyes lit up when they saw Little Blue playing with some of the colony's children. A safe place. Finally, a safe place. "How's the investigation going?" Danny asked. Helen's expression became more serious. "It's slow, but it's happening. The Galactic Council has launched a formal inquiry into the Valkorian. Several major governments have cut trade agreements with them. There's even talk of sanctions. The Valkorian are claiming they've stopped all hunting operations. But nobody believes them. Good. They need to face consequences. They will. Your broadcast when their fleet showed up? That's been viewed billions of times across the galaxy. You can't buy that kind of evidence. The Valkorian can't hide anymore." Karen walked up to join them, medical scanner in hand. "I need to check the new arrivals. Make sure they don't have any injuries that need immediate treatment. You've become quite the expert on dragon medicine," Danny said with a smile. "I've had good teachers," Karen replied, glancing at Sky of Dawn. "She's taught me more about Therally physiology in 6 months than I learned about human medicine in 4 years of school." "Did you know they have 3 hearts?" 3. As Karen went to examine the new dragons, Danny felt a familiar weight settle beside him. Little Blue had grown significantly in the past months. He was now the size of a large horse, though still small for a Therally. His scales had taken on a deeper blue color, and he could fly for hours without rest. "Hey, buddy," Danny said, scratching behind the young dragon's horns. Little Blue made a happy rumbling sound and leaned into the touch. "He follows you everywhere," Helen observed. "I think he's imprinted on you. Sky of Dawn says he sees me as family. An honorary dragon, she calls it. That's quite an honor." Danny had to agree. Over the months, he had learned so much about the Therally, their complex society, their art, their philosophy. They were an ancient and beautiful culture, nearly destroyed by greed, but they were survivors. And now, finally, they had a chance to rebuild. Commander Blake approached, looking more relaxed than Danny had seen him in months. "Martinez, I just got word from Earth. They're sending a proper diplomatic team to establish formal relations with the Therally. They want you to be part of the team." Danny blinked in surprise. "Me? Sir, I'm just an engineer. You're the first human to make contact with the Therally. You're the one who stood up to the Valkorian, and most importantly, they trust you." Blake smiled. "Besides, I think your days as just an engineer ended the moment you let a dragon into my colony." "Our colony, sir." "Fair point." That evening, Danny sat in the main hangar, with Sky of Dawn, and a gathering of both humans and Therally. It had become a tradition. These evening gatherings, Sky of Dawn would tell stories of her people, and humans would share stories from Earth. It was a time of learning and friendship. Tonight, Sky of Dawn spoke of the old days, before the Valkorian came. She described cities that floated on clouds, held aloft by the warm air rising from volcanic vents. She told of great councils where Therally from across the galaxy would gather to share knowledge and song. "Will your people ever rebuild those cities?" asked a young colonist named Amy. Sky of Dawn was quiet for a moment. "I do not know. Much was lost. Many skills, many memories. But perhaps, with time and safety, we can remember. We can teach the young ones, like my Blue. They can carry our culture forward." "You'll do more than remember," Danny said. "You'll grow. You'll create new things. Your people survived the worst. Now you get to see what comes next." "And you will help us?" Sky of Dawn asked. "Even though we have nothing to offer in return? That's not how friendship works," Danny replied. "You don't help people because they can pay you back. You help because it's right." Sky of Dawn made that trilling sound of happiness. "Your species confuses me sometimes. Danny Martinez, you are capable of great cruelty. I have seen this in your history files. Wars, destruction, terrible things. Yet you are also capable of great kindness. You opened your home to strangers. You risked everything for people you had just met. How can one species be both things? Danny thought about that. It was a question humanity had asked itself for centuries. I think we're all both things. Good and bad. The trick is choosing which one to be in any given moment. That day you came here, scared and desperate, I chose to help. Could I have chosen differently? Sure. But I wouldn't have been able to live with myself. Your choice saved not just my child, but perhaps my entire species. If this colony had turned us away, I do not know what I would have done, where I would have gone. This was my last hope. Then I'm glad we didn't let you down. Little Blue chirped and moved to curl up between Danny and his mother. Other young Thorali were playing with human children in the corner of the hangar. It was a scene that would have been impossible to imagine a year ago. Two species, learning to live together in harmony. Helen stood up to address the gathered group. I have an announcement. The Galactic Council has officially recognized the Thorali as a protected species. Any hunting, capturing, or harm done to them is now a serious crime. The Valkorian operations have been shut down completely. Their leaders are facing trial. The hangar erupted in cheers and dragon song. Sky of Dawn closed her eyes, and Danny saw tears running down her scaled face. Tears of relief, of joy, of hope, finally realized. It's over, she whispered. After so long, the running is over. No, Danny said gently. It's not over. It's just beginning. You get to go home now. Or build a new home. Whatever you choose. We choose to stay here, at least for a time. This place, this colony, it has become special to us. You made us welcome when no one else would. We will not forget that. As the celebration continued around them, Danny looked up at the stars visible through the hangar's transparent roof. Out there, more Thorali were learning about the safe haven at Theta 7. They were beginning their journeys here, no longer fleeing in terror but flying toward hope. The story of the crying mother dragon had become legend across the galaxy. But for Danny, it would always be personal. It would always be the night a desperate mother trusted him with her child's life. And he chose to help. That choice had changed everything. It had turned a simple mining colony into a beacon of hope. It had brought two species together in friendship. It had shown the galaxy that some things were more important than profit or politics. Little Blue shifted in his sleep, his wing draping over Danny's lap. The young dragon trusted him completely, without fear or hesitation. Danny gently stroked the dragon's scales, marveling at how normal this had become. 6 months ago, dragons were myths. Now, they were friends. What are you thinking? Sky of Dawn asked quietly. I'm thinking about how one decision can change everything. How one moment of choosing to help, instead of turning away, can lead to all this. D is a D-E. IRD is a D is. D is a T. S-P. Do you regret it? Your life is very different now. Danny looked around the hangar. At the dragons and humans living together. At the children playing without fear. At the future being built one day at a time. He smiled. Regret it? Not even for a second. This is the most important thing I've ever done. More important than any engineering project, any achievement. This matters. You matter, Danny Martinez. To me, to my people, to the galaxy. You showed everyone that different species can live together. That we can choose compassion over cruelty. That is a powerful lesson. As the night deepened on Theta 7, the gathering slowly dispersed. Families returned to their homes. Dragons found their resting places. But Danny stayed a while longer, sitting in the quiet hangar with his thoughts. He had come to this colony 3 years ago looking for a job, for a purpose. He had found something much greater. He had found a cause worth fighting for. He had found friends in the most unlikely places. He had learned that being human meant more than just surviving. It meant making choices that defined who you were. The choice to help. The choice to care. The choice to stand up for what was right, even when it was hard. That was what it meant to be human at their best. Little Blue stirred and looked up at Danny with sleepy golden eyes. The young dragon made a soft questioning sound. "It's okay," Danny said softly. "Everything's okay now. You're safe. You're home." The young dragon closed his eyes again, trusting completely in those words. Danny sat there in the darkness, keeper of promises, friend to dragons, and proof that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could change the entire galaxy. And as the stars wheeled overhead in their eternal dance, the Thorali sang their songs of hope while humans listened and learned. Two species, once strangers, now family. All because one engineer chose to open a door instead of closing it. All because one mother dared to trust. All because in the end, compassion won. And that made all the difference.